In the future, all people undergo plastic surgery to become beautiful. But the wild ones, who live in the forests, aim to destroy the utopian society. The film begins with a brief historical overview. Humanity once relied on energy resources, but their scarcity brought the world to the brink of war and destruction. Then, scientists, using genetic engineering, invented special flowers that produce energy, leading to an era of prosperity. All people who turn 16 undergo plastic surgery to become beautiful. They live separately from the youth who haven't had the procedure yet, known as uglies. Tally can't wait to become pretty. Her best friend, Paris, is scheduled for surgery a few months earlier. After the operation, he will move to the area across the river where the pretties live. No one returns from there to talk about what life is like in the adult world. Paris swears to Tally that exactly 1 month after his operation, they will meet at their special spot under the bridge, where, as children, they became blood siblings by leaving scars on their palms as a memory. However, after the operation, Paris stops responding to messages. Tally waits for the appointed time, but the boy never shows up for the meeting. Then, she breaks another rule, crossing the bridge into the pretties district. Wearing a stolen mask, Tally wanders among them until she encounters a transformed Paris. He confesses that he no longer has anything to talk about with her. Tally's infiltration is discovered by the guards. She grabs a life jacket and jumps off the roof. She makes her way back across the bridge when a security helicopter spots her. Tally is saved from imminent arrest by a girl named Shay, who practices hoverboard riding. Feeling a sharp lack of friends after Paris's departure, Tally begins to form a close friendship with Shay. Shay teaches her how to ride a hoverboard, while Tally shows Shay how to bypass the curfew in the utopian dormitory. Shay also introduces Tally to the rebels, who share her free-spirited views, and even gives her a book about the past. One day, after another ride in the generated field, Shay tells Tally that she's thinking of joining The Smoke, a settlement of free people who refuse to undergo mandatory plastic surgery. Tally doesn't believe in the existence of The Smoke, so Shay decides to prove her right by taking her on an excursion outside the city. Leaving their ID rings at the fenced boundary, they venture into the countryside. In addition to the natural beauty, they encounter post-apocalyptic ruins, including an abandoned amusement park with rusty roller coasters and a half-collapsed Ferris wheel. Tally is afraid to follow Shay because if they are caught, they will never be allowed to become beautiful. Here their paths diverge. One goes to The Smoke, while the other returns to the city to await the coveted surgery. However, when the appointed time comes, Tally is taken to the Department of Special Circumstances instead of surgery. There she meets the head of the entire utopia, Dr. Cable. Dr. Cable presents Tally with a difficult moral and ethical choice. Either she lives another year among the uglies, or helps them find the dangerous terrorist David, who plans to overthrow society. Tally hesitates. In the evening, Paris, who has undergone the surgery, visits her. He admits that he was wrong during their last encounter and asks her to accept Dr. Cable's terms so they can reunite. Tally agrees to become a spy. Dr. Cable gives her a pendant that, when activated, will send the coordinates to the Department of Special Circumstances. Then, following the clues left by Shay, Tally sets off on her journey. She reaches the roller coasters where they ride hoverboards. When the tracks break off, she finds herself on a railroad that stretches far into the distance. Traveling along the tracks, Tally overcomes steep cliffs and sharp descents before reaching the White Sea, fields of genetically modified orchids. Following clues, she stops there for the night. In the middle of the night, she's awakened by heat and flames. Someone has turned the field into a hellscape. She is rescued by a mysterious boy, none other than David, the dangerous teenage terrorist. He scans her clothes and belongings to remove any hidden trackers. Tally fears that the scanner will detect the pendant, but it doesn't. Dr. Cable is informed that Tally's tracker has been removed, and she orders scouts to be sent out. Meanwhile, the head of the utopia convinces Paris to join the Department of Special Circumstances by undergoing another surgery to enhance him further. In the morning, David takes Tally to a base camp where Shay and David's friend Croy, who views the newcomer with great suspicion, are waiting. Shay convinces her friend to stay with them and get to know the Smokies better, and Tally agrees. The next day, they fly in a helicopter to burn down the mutant orchid fields. According to the Smoke, these flowers drain all the nutrients from the soil, preventing other flora from spreading naturally, so their destruction is considered a noble cause. Shay burns the flowers with a flamethrower before accidentally falling overboard due to a safety violation during a maneuver. Scouts from the Department of Special Circumstances appear in the field. Tally jumps down to pull her friend out of the smoke. In an ironic twist of fate, as they fight off the scouts, the girls grab onto a rope and their comrades pull them back onto the helicopter. Croy makes a valid point that the appearance of scouts so far from the city immediately after Tally's arrival is no coincidence. However, David dismisses the concern, deciding that the newcomer is trustworthy, especially since she saved Shay. The group returns to the smoke, a settlement of outcasts who don't want to become beautiful. Tally begins to settle into her new surroundings, gradually learning the customs of the Smokies, and grows closer to David. Tally learns how to shoot a crossbow and is introduced to physical labor. The locals dismantle a railway for resources, which is not too different from what their ancestors did before the global catastrophe. She is also introduced to the local cuisine, with dishes made from hand-grown organic vegetables. David was born in the smoke after his parents escaped from the city. Noticing the calluses on her hands, the boy, unused to manual labor, gives Tally a pair of gloves. Shay points out that such a gift holds great significance here, as everything the locals have is handmade, not produced by 3D printers. Despite the friendliness and affection from the community, not everyone fully trusts Tally. For her part, she is in no hurry to call the Special Circumstances Department. First, she wants to learn more about David's weaponry. When asked directly, the boy leads her to a remote cabin where his parents, Az and Maddie, live. They reveal that they were surgeons in the city until they discovered that the operations not only made people beautiful on the outside, but also damaged their brains, leading to an average personality devoid of strong emotions. In other words, the surgeries make people stupid. When they reported this to Dr. Cable, she ordered them to stop their research. David's parents fled, creating a cure that could repair the brain damage, but the patient must voluntarily take it, wanting to reclaim their personality. Otherwise, the changes could lead to death. This is the medicine Dr. Cable fears. It threatens her control over her electorate. After this conversation, Tally decides to throw the pendant into the fire, unaware that the high temperature will activate it before it's destroyed. She confesses to David that she wants to stay in the smoke, but the next morning, the settlement is attacked by Special Circumstances soldiers, including the modified Paris. David and Tally watch from a hiding place as the soldiers capture the residents. Dr. Cable demands that Az and Maddie hand over their son. When they refuse, she orders Paris to kill Az. David rushes to his father, unaware that his mother has slipped a capsule with the cure into his bag. When Tally comes out, Dr. Cable thanks her for helping capture the terrorist and invites her back to the city to receive her well-earned operation. The villagers curse Tally, believing she betrayed them. Instead, Tally runs to a storage shed, spilling fuel and starting a fire. In the chaos, David manages to escape into the forest. The soldiers destroy the settlement and load the captives onto planes. After they leave, Tally heads to David's hideout to offer her help in rescuing their friends. Though he doesn't fully trust her, he eventually agrees after some hesitation. They fly to the city in a helicopter. Tally convinces her rebellious friends to give them a pass and organize a distraction. They launch a message into the sky: the smoke lives. Meanwhile, David and Tally sneak through an open gate, quietly moving through a hangar past the guards. They knock out one guard, using his ring to open the cell where the prisoners are held. However, they discover that Shay has already been taken for surgery. Tally, along with David and Maddie, heads to rescue her friend. But in the operating room, they find that Shay has already undergone the transformation, and a drug has been administered to make her dumber. Dr. Cable and Paris appear, trapping them in the surgical boxes, planning to alter their brains and appearances as well. At that moment, a rebel helicopter appears outside the window, activating its flamethrower and setting the equipment in the room on fire. The operation is interrupted by the blaze, and the patients, escaping from their boxes, grab Shay and flee. Maddie manages to grab the second ingredient for the cure from a supply box. Reaching the roof, the group of escapees encounters the fashionable Paris. Tally tries to appeal to his nostalgia, reminding him of their years of friendship. Paris, who had cut his hand earlier on a piece of glass, is reminded of the blood oath they made as children. He strokes her hair, but this triggers David, leading to a fight between the two boys. In the struggle, Paris ends up hanging from the edge of the roof by one hand. Tally tries to save him, but not too vigorously, and Paris falls to his death. The group escapes the city and reaches the ruins of an ancient civilization, where they are ready to test the cure for stupidity. They only need to find a pretty volunteer, and they naively believe that Shay will agree. However, Shay unexpectedly refuses. She wants to remain beautiful and doesn't want to hang around with outcasts. Tally then volunteers for the clinical trials. She will return to the city, undergo the surgery, and then be convinced to take the cure. After saying her goodbyes, Tally, along with Maddie, boards a special circumstances aircraft. In the final scene, the glamorous Tally wanders through her perfect apartment, responding to her voice assistant that she feels wonderful. This is the end of the movie. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.